What you doing, Checkers? No, you can't have that. Hello, friends. I see there are people in here. Hi. I'm Sarah, and this is a place for people who are deconstructing or who are questioning their faith and just kind of want to talk about it. So just a little background about me. Hi, Lydia. Good to see you. If you all hear like pitter pattering, Checkers is on the move tonight. Hi, Brandy. Hello. Oh, it's so good to see you, Spark. Hey, Checkers. Well, welcome. Hi. Hey, Dr. Joe. Thanks for coming to hang. Hi, Krista. It's good to see you. Hey, Rachel. Well, for anyone new, hey, I'm Sarah, and this is a place for people who are deconstructing or questioning their faith or anything like that. All the girls, yes, exactly. That is funny. And I have the animals here. Hi, Cruz. Oh, wait, how do I flip that? I was going to show you the animals. Ruby is snoozing, and Checkers is getting into trouble. There's her little tush. And there's Ruby, snoozing away. What you doing, hun? Don't eat that. That's a wire. Can't eat that. Hi. She's actually a Great Pyrenees. Yeah, she's like a giant golden. Yeah, don't worry, Chris. She didn't actually chew on the wire. I got her, so she's good. Hi, Mark. Well, hey, Maggie. Yep, we are actually live. Hooray. Oh, hello from India. Hi, Maggie. Oh, that's super fun and not at all creepy, Annette. Hi, Ruby. Hi from Jamaica. Okay. Chris said, I always wondered why Christianity didn't dump the Old Testament since it doesn't mesh with the New Testament. Yeah. Hi, Kylie. There's a lot of sort of justification around it, you know. But to be fair, many Christians don't read the Old Testament. Hello. This channel is for people who are like questioning their faith or deconstructing their faith and maybe in the process of leaving their faith and just want some community, to talk to people who are going through the same thing. Hi, Hamed. I'm good. I think Checkers is getting into something in the kitchen. Well, hi. All faiths are welcome as long as you are kind and polite. Hey, Jen. So I'm not pro or anti-faith. I don't have any religion. I don't believe in God at all. So I mean, this is geared towards people who were in a faith and are now leaving it and want some community around that. Hi, Faith. Matthew. Hi, good to see you. Hey, Mighty. Hi, Henry. Hello, Shelley. Oh, thank you so much, Jen. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I think one of the most difficult things about questioning your faith and then even deconstructing your faith is that lack of community. And so I think yeah, it's really important to be able to find community. Hi, Checkers. Hi, Jackson. Oh, hi, Risk. We are just talking about the process of what it's like to question your faith and deconstruct your faith. Stop saying we need community for everything. I'm not saying you need a separate community for everything. I'm saying humans in general need communities. And so if your primary community is your religion, and then you stop believing in that religion, you're totally kicked out of your community and you have none. So that's what we're talking about. Oh, well, thanks, Henry. Why what, D? Tani, I don't answer questions about my personal life. I don't think that's true on all faiths. You don't think what is true on all faiths? I am the look of a Jehovah's Witness survivor. Well, I'm an evangelical Christian survivor. Oh, hi from, oh, Checkers, don't do that. Hi from Illinois. Hi, Kraken. Henry says, how did you find the courage to speak up and did you lose friends or family? So, I mean, I think part of it for me was when I finally just knew, like, realized that I didn't believe any longer. I just couldn't keep pretending. And so I never made like a big announcement or anything. I just kind of individually told people as I felt that I needed to. Um, I did not lose any family, but I definitely did lose friends. Oh, that's interesting, Mighty. Yeah, for me, it was Mighty asked, what was the first event or whatever that made you start questioning? So for me, it was seeing the doctrine of hell from a different perspective and thinking, oh, wait, this is actually terrible. So, Chris, I'm definitely aware that it's supposed to be relationship, not religion. Although, if you worship a deity at all, you are participating in a religion. But the way I practiced was very relational. No, Emmanuel, I do not feel lonely because I don't have faith. That's incorrect. In fact, I've been able to build a really great community. So I don't. Would I recommend entering into a cult? I would not recommend it, no. Chris says, God will give undeniable proof for those who seek him. Well, he seems to not do that. There are so many people who have been seeking God, asking for God to to show up or reveal himself, and he just doesn't. Ed says, losing family is my biggest fear. Yeah, I can understand that. You know, and I think like only you are going to know if telling your family is the right thing to do or not. I mean, I don't think you're obligated. Like, I don't think you have to, but there's definitely pros and cons to think about. Unless it's the cult of Doug. Mark asked, how do you feel when you look back at your believer self? Cringy, funny, with compassion? What the hell was I thinking? Some of a lot of that. Like I do cringe at some of the things I did and some of the things that I said. You know, but I do, I mean, I do look back at her with compassion. You know, I do think I was doing the best I could with what I knew. You know, and but I certainly would do things differently. Yeah, Henry says God has refused to show up. The cult of checkers. Well, I mean, she's a pretty good cult leader. Hi, Ambrose. This channel is for people who are like deconstructing or questioning their religion and want to talk about like the process of leaving their religion. Unbased says, I was seeking every day for years, spending hours every day in prayer, dedicating thousands of hours to God, and yet never had any proof, aside from the lies forced on me from external sources. Yeah, I believe you, you know, and I think what's so frustrating when people leave comments like, well, if you seek him with your whole heart, then he'll show up for you, because it allows people to just discount your experience, essentially saying, oh, you just didn't try hard enough. And I think that's unfair and unkind. So yeah, I believe you. Lemur says, do you think you can believe in a God without being part of an organization? Sure. Yeah, I think a lot of people do. Oh, did I go to youth Bible camp? You know, I didn't. I certainly was very active in youth group, but I never went away to Bible camp. Hi, Minnie. Do you believe Jesus existed, or are you a mythicist? I think he probably existed. So I'm in the camp of I think so. Lydia says, I was directly asked if I believed the salvation story, was immediately cut off from what my husband and I thought were our best friends. We were shown the door when we gave the wrong answer. Ugh, I'm so sorry. That sucks. Hi, Kay. Hello, atheist. Lemur says, I believe in a God, probably not the Bible version. No reason. I wasn't raised in religion, nor do any of my friends believe, but I do. Just a feeling. Yeah, I mean, I think that's reasonable. You know, if you are convinced of something, I'm certainly not going to try to talk you out of it. Oh, I'm sorry, Emma. Ariba says, if you don't believe in God, why do you keep talking about him? Um, so it's a little different. The rest of the comment is, it's like if I stood in the streets with a sign saying that mermaids don't exist. I don't say this in a mean way. So the difference is, one, I used to genuinely believe this, and it was a huge part of my life for a very long time. And I am surrounded by people who currently do believe it. These beliefs affect my culture, they affect our laws in the US. I'm in the US. And so it this discussion matters quite a bit, I think. But I'm actually not here talking about God. I'm here talking to people who are questioning whether or not they believe in God, or that they don't believe in God, and just want other people to connect with. So, yeah, a little different. Do I have any thoughts on Paul? I believe he was an agent of Rome. I don't know if about that, but I mean, I do think he contradicted Jesus, and he was kind of a misogynistic guy, so not a super big fan. Oh, the prestige. Oh, well, Beluga, I'm so glad that it's been helpful. Ariba says, interesting, praying for you. I don't know your story, but I really think it was more the people. So, Ariba, if you don't know my story, then you have no idea whether it was the people or the faith itself. So, if you're trying to, be helpful or connect with someone, it's best to hear from them first before you just make assumptions about them. Danny says, Paul did not contradict Jesus. Okay. Do you have to follow the law? Because Jesus says you do, and Paul says you don't. JC, my whole backstory is posted on my page. I think I have an FAQ playlist. Seth said, did y'all know that Paul's letters were written before the Gospels? Oh, that's cool. Henry says, in my city, we have a meetup of secular people. We meet once a week. It's nice. Oh, I believe you. That does sound nice. Paul does not say that you have to follow the law. He has a whole thing about how you don't have to do it. And, maybe if there are some laws you want to keep following to make your brethren feel comfortable, but you don't have to follow it anymore. Wider Sky says, I always felt inadequate as a Christian because I didn't have the experiences other people said they did. And they blamed it on my lack of faith. They always blame it on that. Yeah, Wider, I think so many Christians feel that way, particularly if you're in an evangelical setting or a charismatic or Pentecostal setting where experiences play a huge role in the faith. There are a lot of people who are like, why am I not having these experiences too? Yeah, Confucius says, I struggle with professional interactions. So many of my clients are Christians and they want to talk, and bless and pray. And I just want to work on their professional needs. Yeah, that's really tough. I mean, I imagine that how much this happens and what you're expected to do vary a lot between different industries. Um, I'm not in a place where I would be expected to pray at all with someone. So that would not be a professional expectation for me. Um, but yeah, that can put you in a really difficult position. Rahul says, how do you fill the vacuum left by faith? So the idea that those of us who don't believe in God have this big void, this big empty space, isn't true. That's something that Christians say about non-Christians, but that's not something that non-Christians are actually saying about themselves. So there isn't a big void. Do you think there's any inherent value to religion? Sure, there can be, yeah. I think that religion can definitely bring community. I think it can give people purpose, can give people a lot of social support, and, um, depending, I don't know enough statistics to say that. So, yeah, I do think it has some good things too. Well, thanks, Lemur. See, Michelle, I didn't speak to that commenter because they said they were a 14-year-old kid, and I'm not in the business of talking to minors. So, but certainly, I'm happy to answer any questions you've got. Plum, I forgot about them. Wow. There was a song by Plum that I used to play. What was it? I'm going to look that up after this. Hi, Rohan says, this is my first time catching you live. If you don't mind me asking, what advice would you give to your past self if you had the chance to talk to them? Oh, man. I think I would tell my past self, you're not terrible. Like, you're not a horrible person. You make mistakes because you're human, but you're doing the best that you can. So you don't need to punish yourself so much. Yeah, you bet. Henry says, I replace my Sunday church routine with running every Sunday morning. I can run up to 20 miles. No void here from leaving religion, better physical and mental health, and great running friends. I love that. How fantastic. What helped getting over a lingering fear of hell? I don't have a lot of helpful advice. I can tell you that time helps. I can also tell you that, when after I went through this deconstruction process, I definitely utilized therapy, and that was super helpful for me. Oh, that's a big sigh for a big dog. Um, there are also, I think Charles has already linked it in there somewhere, but Recovering from Religion, that organization can be really helpful too. There probably wasn't a dog there. Oh, well, I will use any excuse to show off Ruby. This is Ruby. She's my giant Pyrenees. And that is her snoozing. And here's Checkers, little bun. Yeah, she does deserve a salary. You thought that was a rug. Nope, just a giant fluffy dog. Oh, I know. I wish we had stickers. To be honest, I don't know about a lot of features. So I know that YouTube has like memberships, and I think there's things you can do with the memberships. So I don't know if we can make stickers. Oh, I have a Checkers hair in my eyeball. So maybe that's a thing. I don't know. I need to figure it out. YouTube is complicated. Your thoughts on spirituality? Well, the thing is, the term spirituality can mean so many different things. It's such a broad word, honestly. KC says, is this live just meant to influence others to leave their faith? Genuine question, not trying to pick a fight. So no, I genuinely don't want to change anyone's faith. I do these lives for people who are already in the process of deconstruction or are deconstructing. My goal is not to go find Christians and try to talk them out of their faith. Not at all. Yeah, KV says, did or do you have fear of being wrong about your deconstruction because of the threat of hell? I'm always thinking, what if I'm wrong? Sure. I get asked that all the time. Like, what if you're wrong? So the way that I look at it now is I think there is a significant chance that I could be wrong. But it doesn't cause me fear because I know how sincerely I tried to find God, and so I can't imagine that a good God would have watched me struggle for so long, asking God for help, and watched me just no longer be able to believe, and then send me to hell for that. I can't understand that a good God would do that. So I think it's possible that I'm wrong, but I guess it just doesn't cause me a lot of fear. Yeah, I agree, Dr. Joe. It was nice to be able to pin comments. So, what do you believe is right if it's not God? So, I would say, John, that I'm not convinced there is a God. So, my best guess right now is that there is no God. But, I don't think I can ever be 100% certain about it. Oh, good morning, Alan. Oh, yeah. Raul says the people who are fearful of being wrong and ending up hell are not taking into consideration other religions. You could be a good Christian, but end up in Islamic hell. No, Vibe says, so what is the purpose of this? To have someone try and convince you or to take others with you? Believe it or not, neither. I'm not trying to change anyone's mind. This is a place for people who are questioning or have left their religion and they want other people to talk to about it. Most of the time, especially in Christianity, if you stop believing in it, you lose that community. It can be really isolating, and not having anyone to talk to about it is hard. My God is money. Well, then I'm doing pretty badly. So no higher power. I don't think so, no. Casey says, God in Christianity isn't sending a person to hell. The person is making the choice to be separate from God. Therefore, if you're not with God, you have the only other alternative. So my issue with that is there are many of us who just aren't convinced that God exists, which is a really different thing from saying, I don't want to be with God. Right? Saying I don't want to be with God, that would be more of an active choice. But I'm saying I just don't happen to think he exists. So that is in no way a choice. And so I think it's not quite correct to say that we're choosing to be apart from him. Oh, sorry. I'm petting Checkers right now, which means her little hairs are like flying everywhere. Oh, there's one. If you can see one. Andrew says, God is real, bud. I would love to see your evidence, Andrew. You said the odds of you being wrong are pretty good. Yeah, probably. I mean, I think the more interesting question is what would be right? Are you spiritual? Not unless you have an incredibly broad definition of spiritual. That's correct, John. I don't believe in any higher power. Yep, not a ghost, just Checkers fur. Unbased says, my moving away from faith was due to my lack of ability to reconcile my beliefs. Yeah. Unbased says, I, for one, greatly appreciate the ability to connect with someone with similar experiences moving away from faith. While I was in Christianity, no one could have ever convinced me otherwise. Yeah, for sure. Like, I would never say, oh, my goal is to change Christians' minds. Like, I'm not going to change your mind. I know how deeply you believe in that, and that's fine. Yeah. Andrew, is the evidence you are referring to your statement that if there's no God, who created the universe because there needs to be a mover? Is that your only evidence? Ugh, I need to stop petting Checkers. Well, I know, baby. You just shed all the time. John says, what are your thoughts on creation? Can you be more specific? Yes, looking at the trees. What if you're wrong about God? Well, I don't know. Hi, Darren. Anyone who makes the infinite regression argument should be a deist. There is no logic that can take them from a prime mover to a specifically defined deity. It's interesting. What church did I go to? I was a Protestant. So no, I was not I'm not ex-Mormon. I'm ex-evangelical, basically. Carrie says, if God exists, why did he create animals with such great capacity to suffer? Yeah, I mean, I know the Christian answer is that when Adam and Eve sinned, the whole world, fell apart, but that's not really a good answer. Murdoch says, I too am curious, why did you choose to leave your faith? So to clarify, I actually didn't choose. I went through a period of questioning and kind of deconstructing for about a year. And then, at some point during that process, I just stopped believing it was true. And I really wanted to keep believing. Like if I had had a choice in the matter, I would have kept believing. I did all the things. I prayed a lot. I sought counsel from mentors. I read the Bible a lot, and still I just wasn't able to believe it anymore. Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of John MacArthur. Harry says, do you believe in God or no? What is the alternative to believing in a higher power? I don't, but I also don't think I can know for sure. So I think just the universe exists. Yeah, Seth says people don't choose what they believe, not if they care about what's true. Well, welcome, El Karaki. El Karaki? Welcome. Hi. So what's your opinion on what happens when we die? I think just probably nothing. Like, I think we just cease existing. Gabby says, what do you think we are as humans? Do you think that all there is to us is neurons and energy, or is there a spiritual aspect as well? I think it is just physical. I think the complexity of our brain explains consciousness, and I don't believe in like that we have a spiritual part of us. Hi, Eli. Well, Casey, your opinion is incorrect. Casey says, this is just an opinion, but I feel like you were always a non-believer. You just hadn't accepted it yet. No, that's not correct. I was so dedicated and I genuinely, truly believed. And, at one point, my faith in God was my whole life. Everything in my life centered around it. And all I wanted was to just do God's will. So no, that's not correct. What do you want to replace it with? Oh, you're welcome, Carrie. I mean, I'm not quite sure what you're asking there. Marcus says, belief is a choice. I think that's what makes life beautiful. God wants us to choose him. So, Marcus, once you believe God exists, then I totally agree you could choose to follow him or choose to develop a relationship with him or not. But if I don't think God exists at all, I can't make myself believe. You have choices around it. Like, I can choose to do more research. I can choose who I spend my time with. But at the end of the day, I can't make myself be convinced if I'm just not convinced. Do you feel a loss of identity after deconstructing? Yeah, so when I stopped believing in God, it was a really big deal. Yeah, my whole world turned upside down, and I had to take some time to figure out, okay, who am I without this? So yeah, it took a while to like figure that out. Jason says, you had a moral framework that was based in religion, now you don't. So my moral framework is based on empathy and logic. We as humans are smart enough to understand that our actions have consequences. And we also have empathy, meaning that when I cause someone else pain, I'm actually able to feel that pain with them. And I know what it feels like. And so I don't want to cause harm. Those are kind of like the grounding principles of it. Obviously, life is complex, and so there can be a lot of nuance, but that's the basis of it. Well, thanks, Carrie. I appreciate it. Anarchist says, a lack of compelling evidence, especially when you expect it to be there, is a good reason not to accept the proposition of a God is true. Unbased says, I don't believe the Bible is a foundation of moral framework at all. Christians of various beliefs and denominations have two varied moral frameworks to justify that conclusion. Yeah, I mean, and there are lots of things that God does in the Bible that I think most Christians would find immoral, which makes it very complicated. Gentry says, as a Christian, why would you stop believing in the Lord? Life can be tough, but God will help through it all. So it was not a choice. I didn't decide to stop believing. I stopped being convinced that it was true. And I am very glad that things are going well for you and that God is helping you through. But there are many people who it appears that if there is a God, God does not help. Yes, thank you very much to my mods. They are amazing. Would you consider yourself a secular humanist? I think so. I think all of their principles I align with. It's been a while since I've like read their list of principles though. So probably. The Prestige says all morality is subjective because it is always mind dependent. Sunny says, God does not help. Did you just say that? Yeah. So, have you looked up the statistics of how many children die of starvation every year? I would consider that to be people that God is not helping. Shelley says, I find it disheartening and frustrating that believers use your platform to preach instead of learning about non-believers. Yeah, thanks for saying that, Shelley. I think the majority of Christians, well, I don't know. I don't know what the majority is, but many Christians come onto my platform with no intention of learning. I label me as a lost soul, and if they are kind, I'm a project. I'm a thing to fix, rather than this being a place to learn. Anarchist says that religion has never met its burden of proof. That religion has never met its burden of proof is a good argument for atheism. What about the Bible made you stop believing? So I had a very kind of rigid and narrow view of what the Bible was. Like, I thought that the Bible was the perfect inerrant word of God. And that is such a fragile concept. It's so easy to poke holes in if you're ready to look at that. And so even finding really tiny errors, like errors that wouldn't bother most people, bothered me, because I thought, well, wait a minute. This is supposed to be the perfect word of God. And if something doesn't line up, if part of it isn't true, how can I trust that any of it is true? John says, why are you lying? You know damn sure there are no errors in the Bible. So 2 questions, John. One, have you read the whole thing cover to cover? And 2, if in the Bible it says something happened, and then later in the Bible it says that same thing happened totally differently, would you consider that to be an error? Comment only. It's like preaching, like trying to convert people. Oh man. Yeah. Well, one, to get a bigger list, honestly, just start Googling errors in the Bible. There are times where God says like something can't happen and then it does. Like Jesus says, no one has seen the face of God except the Son of Man. And yet, previously in the Bible, people do see God. No, that's not an appeal to authority. Jason asked, could there be a God but not the God of the Bible? I mean, it's possible. What religion am I going to convert to? None. So I stopped believing back in 2009, and I have not converted to any religion in the time since. Hi, Shishi. Oh, yay, my favorite question. Nobody mute Andrew. I want to answer it. Andrew says, how do you explain the human body structure? All the joints, ligaments, muscles, bones, skin are perfect for us. How do you explain that? It just popped out of nowhere. So no, it is not in any way perfect for us. While the human body is certainly complex, the way that it functions is oftentimes inefficient, sometimes dangerous. It functions in ways that are redundant or cause pain. Um, Even the design of our spine, the fact that the primary way that we produce vitamin D in the body is through the sunlight, but sunlight gives us cancer. Or the fact that your breathing tube is right next to and part of the same opening as your eating tube. Seems like that would be poor design. The body is full of these trade-offs, like the way that the human body functions. It's very much good enough, like it gets the job done. It's not great, but it mostly works, which is exactly what you would expect if we came about through evolution. Oh, Andrew says the imperfections are because of sin, but I thought you just said we were perfect. Mara, if you want to know kind of my whole backstory, I have a longer video that explains why I no longer believe. And that's on, it's on my main page. I have like an FAQ playlist. What would be your perfect God if you could decide who or what it would be? Um, it's interesting to answer that because of the condition of the world that we live in, that the way the world is, it has a lot of beauty and love, and it has a lot of cruelty and pain. And so if I was trying to, design a God, it's hard for me to imagine what kind of God would create the world like this. If this God is supposed to be really powerful, I would think he or she or it could do a better job where there wasn't so much suffering. Um, the in when people are reporting like their near death experiences, one of the themes that comes out of those reports is people who, like, when they have their near death experience, they just describe it as like joining an energy of love, that it's not a person, it's just being part of love and sort of being one with the universe. And that's probably the closest thing I've heard to that might kind of make sense. But again, even that has a lot of issues. So I don't know. Oh, there's two evals. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, Gavin, Matthew does know what he's talking about, so let's not do that. Eve asks, were you scared when you first realized you were questioning things? Yeah, it's such a disconcerting feeling. Something you were so sure of, so certain of, is now shaky. It's hard. Good night, Lemur. Unbased asked, did any of your Christian friends understand or remain in contact as you left the faith? Unfortunately, no, I lost all of them. Jason says, it seems that the most compelling argument for atheism to you is the problem of evil. What do you say to Christians that say suffering has meaning or purpose? So, the problem of evil is a problem for me with what a God would be like, but I first would have to see evidence that there is a God at all. Um, like, I just don't see any evidence that there is some supernatural being, regardless of that being's character. So the problem of evil is certainly a big problem for me, but the lack of evidence that there is a God at all would maybe be my first issue. But for Christians who say that suffering has meaning or purpose, I would say that that adds to your problem of evil. Why would God design a world in which pain and suffering has meaning or purpose? Why would we have to go through terrible things in order to learn or to grow? Why wouldn't you design a world in which maybe we could experience challenge, but that's very different from suffering? Why design a world with suffering in it at all if you don't have to? And if God's all powerful, he doesn't have to do anything. Oh, Confucius, why are you sad? JC says suffering, or more precisely pain and discomfort, including emotional, is a direct consequence of being alive and an individual. I mean, yeah, so certainly if we're describing the world as it is, I agree. But if we're trying to say that there's this all-knowing God that designed the world, now we get to ask questions about why he designed it this way. What would you consider proof of God's existence? If God came down and sat on my couch and talked to me, I would definitely believe he existed. Thanks, Prestige. Have a good night. Mara says, if you don't believe, does that make you atheist? Yes, I consider myself an agnostic atheist because I don't believe in God, but I also don't think I can know for sure. So comment, an agnostic atheist is someone who doesn't believe in God, but doesn't think we can know for sure. Wilson, while um, while abiogenesis is still a hypothesis, that doesn't automatically mean that it's supernatural. I mean, I guess that's just the God of the gaps fallacy. So the idea of abiogenesis being illogical, I hear this cliche repeated all the time. Life can't come from non-life. But really, the molecules we consider to be alive and the molecules we consider to be not alive aren't all that different. You know, it's so different when people are saying, well, how can a baby come from a rock? Like, okay, well, no one's saying that, right? The structure of alive molecules versus not alive molecules, it's not that big of a leap. Yeah, exactly. Matthew says what counts as alive is a bit of a gray area. Well, listen, friends, I am going to call it a night. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it. I do this every Tuesday night here, and I may do some Thursday nights too. So maybe Tuesday and Thursday nights. And then I also do this on TikTok most nights. So yay, cereal time! I know I'm excited for cereal. Um, so yeah, you can come find me on TikTok as well, same handle. But yeah, thanks for your time, and I hope you guys have a good night.